Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're literally popping the hood on our daily routines to see how they actually work. We're going to move completely away from that exhausting yo-yo feeling of relying on raw willpower and instead learn how to mechanically debug our habits. The ultimate goal here? To engineer total consistency and achieve peak cognitive flow. If you've ever felt stuck in a rut, today is all about understanding the mechanics of exactly how to get out of it.
We are constantly told that setting massive, ambitious goals is the ultimate key to success. But think about this brilliant insight from James Clear for a second. Winners and losers have the same goals. It hits the nail right on the head, doesn't it? Every Olympian wants the gold medal. Every job candidate wants the position. If both the successful and the unsuccessful people share the exact same objectives, then the goal itself cannot possibly be the true differentiator.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today to systematically dismantle those bad habits. We'll start with the illusion of goals, deconstruct the anatomy of a bad habit, prioritize systems over willpower, drain the shallows, engineer consistent routines, and finally, look at entering the flow state. Right, let's kick things off with part 1, the illusion of goals, systems versus results. So, relying purely on goals creates this really tricky either-or conflict for our happiness. It's like, I'll be happy once I get this. Goals are just about momentary results. Sure, you clean a messy room, you get a clean room right then. But if your underlying habits don't change, it's just going to get messy again next week. Systems, on the other hand, focus entirely on the process. They allow you to feel successful anytime that system is running. If we want to improve for good, we absolutely have to fix the inputs at the systems level, because the outputs, they'll fix themselves. Moving on to part 2, anatomy of a bad habit, reprogramming behavior. Now, what's really interesting here is how we can completely reframe the guilt we carry about our bad habits. If you struggle with procrastination, you aren't broken. Your system is, period. Every single habit follows a highly programmable 4-step loop. First, there's the cue. That's your trigger. Second is the craving, which is the underlying motivational force. Third is the response, the actual habit you do. And finally, the reward. That's the end goal that satisfies your craving and teaches your brain, hey, remember this loop for next time. To fix our behavior, we have to actively intercept these specific steps. Let's actually map this out. Think about that classic procrastination loop. Your phone buzzes, there's your cue. You want a quick distraction, that's the craving. You pick it up and check the app, the response, and boom, you get a tiny, fleeting dopamine hit, the reward. If you want to break that bad habit, you literally have to break the loop. Turn off the notifications to kill the cue, or toss the phone in another room to make the response way harder. Now, let's flip the script and consciously engineer a good habit. Your cue is sitting down at a clean desk. The craving is wanting to learn or complete a task. The response is actually opening your book. And the reward is that deeply satisfying feeling of genuine productivity. By deconstructing your actions like this, you stop relying on willpower and start acting like the architect of your own behavior. Which brings us to part 3. Systems over willpower, cognitive infrastructure. Instead of grinding through sheer exhausting effort, we need to build reliable cognitive infrastructure. Think of executive function as your brain's internal air traffic control system. It's handling the planning, how you organize tasks, how you initiate work without someone telling you to, and how you regulate your emotions under pressure. You could be incredibly intelligent, but raw intelligence just isn't enough for college or professional success if you lack this mental air traffic control. In unstructured environments, it is executive function, not your IQ, that truly predicts whether you're going to thrive. So the absolutely crucial point here is the ethos of getting just 1% better each day. You don't magically build executive function overnight. By establishing atomic habits, these really tiny, positive habits that take almost zero exertion, you slowly build up your capacity for the heavy lifting. And that 1%, it compounds over time into massive, tangible transformation.
All right, part 4, draining the shallows, fragmented attention.
To actually get that 1% better, we've got to get brutally honest about where our time is going. Today, modern knowledge workers struggle profoundly with fragmented attention, and we often use visible busyness as a fake proxy for actual productivity. We have to clearly separate deep work from shallow work. Deep work happens when you are totally distraction-free, it pushes your cognitive limits and creates real value. Shallow work is the logistical stuff, pinging back on chat, checking emails. And here's the catch. Constantly toggling between tasks creates what's called attention residue. If you check an email and switch back to your real project, a chunk of your attention literally stays stuck on that email, permanently draining your capacity for unbroken focus.
So how do you filter this out? Try asking yourself this surprisingly illuminating question. How long would it take to train a smart, recent college graduate with zero specialized training to do this task? If the answer is just a couple of weeks or months, you're looking at shallow work. You have to ruthlessly batch those low-impact tasks into specific, confined timeframes so they don't hijack your deep work.
Moving right along to part 5, engineering consistent routines.
Okay, we've got the theory down, so let's look at a rapid-fire blueprint to rebuild our daily work and study systems. This brilliantly illustrates some incredibly high-yield strategies. First, practice task initiation with the Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes of intense focus, 5 minutes off. Take complete ownership of your calendar so you manage yourself instead of waiting for external reminders. Try habit stacking, tacking a new habit right onto an existing one, and bundle it with something you enjoy to make it rewarding. Look for that hidden time between meetings to review your notes. Allow yourself some safe failures to learn exactly what parts of your system need tweaking. And importantly, switch subjects or tasks every 90 minutes because your cognitive efficiency literally drops off a cliff after an hour and a half. These aren't just tips, these are the actual gears of your new system.
And finally, part 6, entering the flow state.
This is the ultimate destination of all this system building we've been talking about. The cognitive flow state is basically the holy grail of productivity. It is a state of maximum cognitive performance involving total immersive absorption in a challenging task. When you're in flow, the outside world just kind of fades out. You don't notice time passing. Your self-consciousness completely disappears. This is your ultimate reward for mastering executive function, breaking those bad habits, and committing to deep work. It brings intense focus, real positivity, and a huge boost to your overall resilience.
But you know, flow doesn't just magically happen by accident. It is triggered by a very specific combination, matching high ability with a high willingness to engage. If you have the skills but no willingness, you're just going to experience boredom. If you have a self-perceived lack of knowledge but really want to succeed, that creates pure anxiety. And low ability combined with low willingness, that's just total avoidance. But by mechanically debugging your behavior, making those 1% gains steadily, and engineering an environment free of distractions, you push yourself right into that top tier: high ability, high willingness, and absolute flow.
So, what does this all mean for us? As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. Adopting a growth mindset means understanding that your abilities aren't entirely fixed. If you're struggling, swap out the word can't for yet. You haven't mastered your focus yet. You haven't built the perfect routine yet. True long-term thinking isn't about setting one massive intimidating goal. It's about committing to a process of endless refinement. So ask yourself right now, what specific system are you going to change today to get just 1% better? Thanks for hanging out with us on The Explainer, and we'll catch you next time.